The 1970s, a time of self-expression in the NBA. Players displayed creativity in everything from moves to hairstyles. It was the perfect setting for a maverick named Darryl Dawkins. He was a larger-than-life figure whose personality was just as powerful as his trademark dunks. Get ready for some chocolate thunder coming through this week on Vintage NBA.
Yes, basketball has changed. It's always been a great game, but now it has a new spirit.
He dunks like Dr. J. He might be the new Iceman.
The modern day Wilt Chamberlain.
He looked like Magic Johnson.
The future has arrived.
You are watching what greatness is all
about. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vintage NBA. I'm Robin Roberts. The NBA has never had another player quite like Darryl Dawkins. No, he didn't become a superstar, and he won't be a Hall of Famer. But he made his mark as one of the game's most, well, let's say, entertaining players. And today we'll look at his wild ride through the NBA. Since Darryl left the scene, a few others have followed in his rather unconventional footsteps. And one of today's more eccentric players is the Sacramento Kings' Scott Pollard. Now, some have said Scott's elevator doesn't go all the way to the top, but we know that is not the case because he's in the chair up on the roof.
That looks like the original Man of Steel right there with the Superman. That's a nice T-shirt. It looks like he's wearing an extra medium there. He is Superman tonight.
Here's Dawkins.
A guy like Darryl Dawkins really stands out for me as a guy that really likes to do his own thing. Darryl came straight out of high school, went right into the pros and playing against the likes of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and looking like a man-child against guys like that. That's very impressive. That's something that that could only be something that would be attributed to a man from the planet Lovetron. I'd like to see some of these dunks here. The Your Mama, the Turbo Sexophonic Delight dunk. Left-handed spine-chilling supreme. Oh, the right-handed spine-chilling supreme. The Cover Your Head, the Rump Roaster, the Bun Toaster, the In-Your-Face Disgrace, Chocolate Thunder Flying, Babies Crying, Cats Crying, Rump Roasting, Bun Toasting, Thank You, Wham, Ma'am, I Am Jam. Try saying that one 10 times fast. I can imagine that 76ers team back then. You had Dr. J, you had World Be Free, and Darryl going in there. It'd be hard to stand out on a team like that, and stand out he did. In the 70s, everybody was a little out there. You had guys wearing big fros and rubber bands in their hair and a lot of jewelry. In that decade of different styles, Darryl came up with his own. He had the earrings when nobody had the earrings. He was the first guy with the shaved head.
He came into training camp with a bald head. And I said, Darryl, why are you letting your hair grow back in? He said, well, they're expecting a very cold winter in Philadelphia, and I don't want to catch any head colds.
Darryl has enough style in his little pinky finger that most of the guys in the NBA now have in their whole bodies.
Scott Pollard from Kansas. He calls himself the Garbage Man.
Shots up, no good. Jam tip follows Scott Pollard.
For the big cheers for the big fella. They love him here, and listen to this ovation.
I'd like to spend some time with Darryl. I would have liked to have been on the same team with him. I think I'm a kind of guy that likes to do his own thing. I'm a little different. What's up, guys? How you doing? Long time no see. It's like an open door to my soul.
Yummy.
On the court with Darryl would be quite an experience. I'd like to see some of those sexophonic dunks. To hang out with a guy like Darryl Dawkins would be a pleasure for me to be around a unique individual like that. I think we'd have some good times, to put it mildly.
Now, Scott is the first to admit he's a little different. For one thing, he spells Scott with only one T. He's been known to paint his fingernails blue or silver. He wears the old-style mutton chop sideburns, drives a '69 Cadillac, which, by the way, was my first car, and besides being called the garbage man, he's known as the butcher for his hacks and chops on opposing forwards. I know it doesn't quite have the same ring as Chocolate Thunder. That's Darryl Dawkins, and you'll hear his story when we return.
I was so frustrated with him. And I pulled him over to the side, and I'm just, Darryl, you know, if you don't start doing A, B, C, and D, that's it. You get out of here. And, yeah, Coach, you're right, you're right. I finish, and I turn to walk away, and he trips me. He's standing there hysterical.
He was irrepressible. He named his dunk shots. You know, he wore a lot of gold jewelry. He had a gold tooth. His nickname, Chocolate Thunder. I mean, that might have been one of the greatest of all time.
Darryl Dawkins certainly had a great nickname, but he took it one step further by embedding nicknames for some of his favorite dunks. It's just one of the things that made Darryl so unique. He came to the NBA fresh out of high school. He dunked with a ferocity never seen before, and he combined his awesome power with a colorful personality. In fact, when he joined the 76ers, he almost seemed like a character from another galaxy.
From the planet Lovetron, 6'11" center, 5th year, Darryl Dawkins.
Rim record, a heart stopper. I was all of that, and a bag of chips, and they just wasn't ready for it.
And Darryl takes it right home.
And that was awesome.
I mean, nobody's funnier than Darryl Dawkins.
When we went on the road, he carried a big boom box on his shoulder. He used to lean over me sometimes. Man, my shoulder's hurting. I don't think I can shoot my jumper tonight. I said, why do you think your shoulder's hurting, Darryl? I don't know. I must have slept on it funny. I said, well, you think it has something to do with you carrying that big 40-pound boom box around with you everywhere you go in your shoulder?
Dr. Duncanstein, who had a whole mythology about dunking and Grutron. He had a whole way of looking at the world.
I came out and I talked about my own planet, Lovetron. I talked about invisible cars that you could see through. And he started there. Now we know this guy's snap. Now we know he's crazy.
It's kind of like the Muhammad Ali of basketball. You know, he could come up with rhymes, and he started naming his dunks, the Chocolate Thunder, Thunder.
Turbo Saxophonic Delight dunks, that you go up and swivel your hips a little bit for the girls. The left-handed spine chiller supreme, right-handed spine chiller supreme.
He had names that just come out of anywhere. I mean, he could be sleeping, he talking about names.
It got to be so much fun to me. I'd be laying home at night in the bed thinking, now, what can I do? Can I dunk 2 balls at one time? I got to come up with another name for him. But my main thing was power.
Shaquille O'Neal, he dunks. Darryl Dawkins, dunks.
Darryl Dawkins grew up in Orlando, Florida. And as a teenager, he built his strength working summers in a tire company while honing his skill in pickup games. In 1975, at age 18, he became the first player drafted by the NBA directly from high school.
He was a man-child. He was young, he was immature, he was trying to belong and prove that he belonged at an early age.
He was like a new trend of the big man because, see, back in the days before, say the real big centers were like that. You had the Willis Reeds, the Bob Laniers, with those big bodies like that. They wasn't really high jumpers like this man. This man was not only had finesse, but he can jump out the building.
Now, there was no denying Darryl's physical talent, but his mental approach was a different story. His lighthearted attitude led some to question his commitment to the game.
Billy was really upset at Darryl at one practice. And so Darryl says, okay, dude. And then Billy stops his practice. He looks back at him, and he says, my name ain't Dude. So he says, okay, dude.
He wanted to be a very good basketball player, but there's a price you pay for that. There's no question there's talent, but you have to sacrifice. You have to make such a commitment.
They would call me into the office and say, hey, Darryl, you gonna get serious about basketball? What's your first love?
Very few people understood him. Darryl would baffle you on one end and charm you on the other.
I was so frustrated with him. And I pulled him over to the side, and I'm just, Darryl, you know, if you don't start doing A, B, C, and D, that's it. You get out of here. And, you know, Coach, you're right, you're right. I finish and I turn to walk away and he trips me. And he's standing there hysterical. And you turn around and you look at him and you say, "Oh, Darryl," and you have to laugh.
They didn't want you to, at that time, have fun playing basketball. It was like you had to go out on the floor, you had to look serious, you had to have your game face on, and you know, I'd be going out there waving at people in the crowd, waving, "Hey, look at that girl over there, and looking at this," and the coach would say, "Darryl, get serious." But I was doing my job, I just had a different way of doing it.
Though the Sixers reached the finals 3 times with Dawkins at center, he eventually wore out his welcome in Philadelphia. And in 1982, he took his show on the road as he was traded to New Jersey.
Dawkins. Oh, what a muscle move! And this time it's against Philadelphia.
Though wearing a new uniform, he was still the same big kid he'd always been. And throughout his career, Darryl remained a study in contradictions, a gifted athlete who never quite lived up to his enormous potential.
I think part of it had to do with the fact that he came in without the benefit of playing some college basketball. He came in at 18, 19 years old, and just really, even though he was physically ready for the NBA, he certainly wasn't emotionally ready.
Everybody would criticize Darryl Dawkins for not living up to his potential. I had no potential. They wanted me to be the next world champion. They wanted me to be him, and I could never be him. I always made it fun for myself, and I wanted to entertain people, because people can go see basketball anywhere, but they see a different side of people when you try to entertain them.
Some deep words of wisdom from Darryl Dawkins. He never did become the next Wilt, but as Darryl put it, he played 14 seasons in the NBA, so he must have been doing something right. And if he had to do it over again, he said he'd do it the exact same way. Dawkins always gave the fans their money's worth, much like another showman of the 70s, musician George Clinton. While Darryl's trademark was the dunk, George specialized in funk. And we'll have more on these kindred spirits. You do not want to miss this. We'll have more when we return. Welcome back, everyone, to Vintage NBA. Darryl Dawkins was the right player for the right time because self-expression was one of the hallmarks of the 70s. And it came through loud and clear on your radio or your 8-track, as the case may be. As we log on to NBA.com, and oh my goodness, it's not quite clear, little rabbit ear action there. That tells you how far back that is. You can look up some of the hits of the 70s that expressed this theme. There was "Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself" by Sly and the Family Stones. Don't worry, that's the last time I'm going to sing. "Express Yourself" by Charles Wright and the Watts 103rd Street Band. And "It's Your Thing" by the Isley Brothers. And there was one song that really struck a chord with Darryl Dawkins.
I was sitting at home and I was listening to a song by Stevie Wonder, and Stevie Wonder said, "Bad like Stevie Wonder, strong like Chocolate Thunder."
It's all signified, like you say, do your thing, you know, hey, be on the team player, but perfect your thing, you know, and generate it to work for the whole team, but at the same time, shine like a Dr. J. You know, I mean, it was the call of the 70s.
If you look at the way the game evolved, particularly late 60s, early 70s, black music, which was the soundtrack that so much of these games were played with, really went through a great, rich period. And the game itself evolved like that.
Well, that's when the players really started to come around and show different sides besides, hey, I'm married, I got 2 kids, I come to the game, I play basketball, I practice real hard. People want to know you were a human.
Well, Darryl was one player who was very human, but also could have been mistaken for an alien since he claimed to come from planet Lovetron. And as he brought his cosmic creativity to the NBA, George Clinton was doing the same in the world of music as leader of the group Parliament Funkadelic. George was a pioneer of intergalactic funk, complete with a huge spaceship set and outrageous costumes. He and Dawkins seemed to be on the same wavelength.
Lovetron was 1 million billion light ionosphere years from here. And the only way you can get there is by going with me.
He was straight off the mothership. He was phenomenal, you know. To see somebody right straight from school come out there and be as strong as he was today. And him and Dr. J together, that was like, wow.
You know, I'm a Parliament Funkadelic fan, and the more freakier they got, the more freakier I got. You know, they could talk stuff like, you know, I don't want to do this because it interferes with my interplanetary functionship. That was the kind of stuff I liked.
Dr. Duncan's style, I thought that was pretty cool myself. It was like he was flying on his mothership.
George Clinton was way ahead of his time. He was different, and he was criticized too. I mean, they criticized him in the music world till maybe one day he just said, I should stop. But he kept going, so I figure if he can keep going, I'll keep going.
Pump, fade, forward, jump, slam, dunk in your face. Tip off the tap in, rush in, jump in, backboard, crush in, dunk in your face.
Long live Parliament Funkadelic.
We even have a Parliament A-track. This is classic stuff indeed. Clearly, George and Darryl must have been separated at birth. All you have to do is look at their nicknames. George was known as Dr. Funkenstein, while Darryl decided to name himself Dr. Dunkenstein, among other things. Now, back in 1977, Parliament and their spaceship were taking center stage. Star Wars was playing in movie theaters, and the visitor from Lovetron was taking on some visitors from Portland. Darryl and the Sixers face the Trailblazers in the NBA Finals, and we'll look back at Game 1 when we return. During his heyday with the Sixers, Darryl Dawkins was part of an entertaining cast of stars that included George McGinnis, World Be Free, and Dr. J. In 1977, they rolled to the best record in the East and advanced to the NBA Finals, where the Sixers were heavy favorites against the upstart Portland Trailblazers. From the Airwave Archive, it's Game 1 of the 77 Finals. Let's join Britt Musburger and Rick Barry at the Philadelphia Spectrum.
In that first quarter, Lionel Hollins did not score for Portland and picked up 3 fouls. Twardzik and Gilliam will open in the backcourt. Walton is back. So Dawkins and Walton matched for the first time. 2-point Philadelphia lead. Start quarter number 2. Larry Steele went baseline to Walton, who moved off beautifully to position himself. He saw Steele coming baseline, and he burned the inexperienced Dawkins that time.
Exactly right. Dawkins watched the ball, didn't particularly watch Walton wisely. He moved to an open spot, and Steele found it.
So intelligent, Bill Walton understands the subtleties of basketball. Mix, waits, kneel on him, Gilliam with a hand, into the youngster. Dawkins comes up with a jump shot.
And the crowd here just loves it. At any time he does something, they really respond to it.
Walton to the offensive position quickly. Waits for a cutter. Drives on Dawkins, who hand checks off to Neal. And they'll come the other way. Offense is the call. It's against Neal.
Take a look at Bill Walton. This last sequence here. You see Steele cut off. He doesn't see him. He makes his move to the hoop. He gets cut off by Dawkins. Gets double teamed by Mix, hits the open man, but Dunleavy had great position to pick up the offensive foul, as you'll see right here. Here's the pass to Neal going in. Dunleavy moves over, picks up the foul.
Dunleavy with a jump shot at the Philly end. Dunleavy out hustles Portland. Dunleavy, the smallest man, battling Steele, came back and hooked Steele.
Great hustle by Dunleavy. He got a little over-aggressive when he couldn't get that ball. I think he was frustrated because he thought he should have had it. You see the shot going up over Walton. Ball bounces back. He happens to be in the right position. Steele able to knock it away. And in his effort to go after the ball, he picks up the foul in the backcourt. 2-shot foul.
The leaderboard, and Jack Nicklaus on his own course in Dublin, Ohio, with a 1-stroke lead. We'll have a report at halftime. Jimmy the Greek at halftime. Can Seattle Slew win the Belmont? We'll hear from the Greek, who watched Seattle Slew make it 2 in a row yesterday. 1 leg to go. And Larry Steele with the free throw has tied it. 10:48 left, first half. Game 1 in the Spectrum. Game 2 Thursday night on CBS, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Bibby puts it to the floor.
Great shot by Bibby. Bill Walton was waiting for him. He anticipated well and got it up over the outstretched arm.
What a series this is going to be, Rick. steal with Irving down, and Dawkins comes off. Mismatch underneath. They collide against Walton. Now it's the doctor. Walton slides. Dawkins comes over. Left hand. Neal battling Mix off. Outlet. Gilliam with a hand on it. And they're saying that Bibby touched it, and he did. Bibby actually touched it before the ball went out. It'll go to Portland.
That play was made by Herm Gilliam with good anticipation. He saw the pass coming, was able to get a hand on it and deflect it off of Henry Bibby.
First quarter stats. Look at Philly shooting. They controlled the glass, though.
But they were ahead by 2, so that certainly is an advantage.
Steal outside. In and out. Kaufman shanks it off. Mix. Coming up, offensive foul against Steve Mix.
There's been an incredible number of offensive fouls called so far in this ball game. You take a look at this great rebound by Darryl Dawkins on the last shot by Larry Steele. He gets good position, screens Walton off, and he just goes up and vices it down. He just squeezes in that one hand of his.
Here come the men from the Northwest, and can they play this game together? Sportson, back from an injured ankle, has missed the last 5 games, all of which Portland won as Johnny Davis did a job. You can see the mismatch. They tried to go into Walton. Off his hand, they'll come the other way, and Dunleavy was battling Walton.
Yes, and Twardzik missed the opportunity. Walton had rolled to the hoop with Dunleavy behind him. He was wide open, but because he had a big man on him, he couldn't get the ball in. And then he tried to force it. It was a bad pass.
Here's Neal on Mix. Dawkins at the top of the circle to the doctor. Steele battling him, using glass. Walton yanks it free. Off to Twardzik. McGinnis will check back in, and we'll have the isolated preview for you. Darryl Dawkins against Bill Walton. Walton's got the doctor up over the top. Walton drew the mismatch on that side and went up over the doctor to tie it. 9:08 first half. Basketball that anyone would pay to see. Foul is against Gilliam, and that's his second. Matt Ramsey, born in Philadelphia, coached at St. Joseph's, coach and general manager of the 76ers. Formerly the coach at Buffalo, now has brought Portland to the brink of a championship. He also is a Dr. J, I might point out. Collins, and it was blocked off beautifully inside. Walton just swatted it down. Gilliam comes in, left alone in the middle, took advantage of it.
Bill Walton first made that play. Super timing, blocked Doug Collins' shot, got it out, 3-on-2 break, layup.
George McGinnis is back, inside on Neal. Goes up on Walton. And he drew the foul from Walton coming across, and Bill is unhappy.
He's very unhappy, has a reason to be. Looked like George McGinnis used his left arm to knock Bill off on that play, and he feels it should have been an offensive foul. That's why he's arguing. So let's take a look at it now. Here we see the play coming down. McGinnis goes to the hoop. Watch his left arm right here. Moves his left arm, hits Walton, made the contact, and that's why he's arguing.
While that Sixer team had veterans like McGinnis and the doctor, they also had a 20-year-old at center, Darryl Dawkins. Here he was just 2 years out of high school and going head-to-head with Bill Walton in the NBA Finals. Well, so far, Darryl is holding his own in Game 1. We should also point out that Dr. Jack Ramsey has retired that pair of white bell-bottoms from 1977. Did it just last year. Here's something else to ponder from that year as we head to a break. Welcome back to June of 1977 as the Sixers and the Blazers open the NBA Finals. For the Sixers, it's their first trip to the Finals in 10 years. And for Darryl Dawkins, it's the first time he's taken his act to the game's biggest stage. Let's head back to the Spectrum for the second quarter, and we'll take a look at who's in the crowd. Who knows, you might even spot one of Charlie's Angels.
What do you think, Rick? Farrah Fawcett look-alike contest winner?
And every time you turn around, you see her these days.
It's all in the hair, they tell me. 8:35 to go in the first half. There's the leading scores, but Gross has cooled off, Rick.
Well, good reason for that, Brent. He hasn't been in the game. He just came back in. He got a rest because he's been working hard offensively and defensively. Jack Ramsey knows that he could be a big factor, and he's given him that rest. So now he's back in to try and take advantage of the doctor, perhaps pick up that third foul on him.
Lucas, Walton, and Gross, Collins, and Davis. So the 5 starters are back.
One important statistic here is that Portland has scored 8 points off of 6 break opportunities. The 76ers have only had 2 break opportunities and have only scored 2 points. The offensive rebounds have been helping them.
And here come the men in red with their starting 5 on the floor. Walton waits for Gross and right away off the bench.
That's what we talk about. That's what they do so well.
Time after time, Portland worked that play against L.A. Bibby is left alone. Wouldn't stay down. Dawkins going up on Walton and a foul by Darryl.
Let's watch the last play here. Let's see if we can see how Bobby Gross gets open. Walton with the ball. Now inside. There goes Gross. He's cutting off in the top right part of your screen. And here he comes. Mix is on him. Mix just loses them and turns away and lost his man.
This time he went with him, Rick. They came from the other side. Lucas, and he gets it back. Got the good bounce and made it count.
Well, it's
37-33.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. They got a break on that one.
McGinnis checks the board. 7:43 left first half. McGinnis outside, and Lucas giving him that shot.
That's what the Sixers can't do.
There is Davis. Nix came from behind the block. Collins back. Collins off now. Dawkins.
That's the gorilla stuff, as they call it here in Philadelphia, by the baby gorilla. And when he goes up, you just get out of the way. Here we go. Great play by Mix. Knocks the ball away. Sixers back up the floor quickly. Pads off by Collins. Great pass. And here goes the gorilla.
McGinnis was down. And it went off of Walton. But it was touched last by Philadelphia as he was battling for that ball. So it goes to Portland. Lucas.
Reese Lucas really getting an outside shot working for him here in the playoffs, shooting far better than he did during the regular season.
Next, the doctor will check back in.
One of the few outside jumpers that the Sixers have hit so far in the first half.
Walton signals the play.
Doug Collins has not been involved in this game much for the Sixers, Brent.
Walton on the turnaround. Taken down by Gross, who passed it off inside and then came back and went up over the top.
Gross made a bad decision that time, Brent. He picks up a foul on that play. He got the ball back in the middle, and he really had a chance to shoot it. He elected to pass the ball off to a little man inside with the big guys, and he really couldn't get a good shot off.
They are standing throughout the spectrum. It is a sellout, and by far, this is the noisiest crowd I've heard in Philadelphia all year, which means that basketball fans here realize that the Portland Trailblazers are for real.
It'll be interesting to see if the Sixers get Doug Collins back into their offense. He's one of the great shooters in the league from outside, and he has not been shooting the ball out there. They're going to Dawkins on this play. At least Gene Shue called it.
McGinnis goes to Collins, who takes it outside, and he's back in the offense in a hurry.
Doug must have heard me.
Tied at 39 with 6:10 to go in the first half. Lucas, and it's on him, the two big power forwards. Walton wants it. Dawkins half fronting him. Over on the left side, shot clock a factor. Gross must hurry. Davis, it's going to expire. A 24-second violation, and the crowd prevented Jack Ramsey from getting the message down to his offense. The offense is setting up away from Ramsey's bench. We will isolate Collins and see if we can bring back an isolated replay. Foul call.
It'll be a front court foul. Gene Shue running up the sideline here, trying to get him to say it was a backcourt violation. And that is team foul number 4, excuse me, for Portland. Next one will be the bonus.
2 on Davis, who was assessed that foul. McGinnis underneath the Collins. 2 quick hoops, Rick. He's back in their offense.
Boy, does he work great. He works so great without the ball. That was a set-up play and a good pass by McGinnis. And we'll look at that one in a little bit when we get a chance.
Lucas maneuvering. McGinnis knocked it away. Hollins retrieves. Hollins jump shot. Tied again at 41.
Here's the ISO we promised. Now watch Doug Collins move without the ball. He makes a great move. Now reverses, loses his man. A super pass. Great play.
With control again from the corner. 3 in a row. Hitting better than 60% in Philadelphia's first 13 playoff games. 11 points here today. McGinnis popped out on Maurice Lucas and fouled him. And that is 3 fouls on McGinnis.
And Steve Mix is into the game quickly. And it may be a good thing, too, that he's coming out, because McGinnis and Lucas were having words, and they were really going at it.
Mix tries Lucas. And Mix, for pushing against Lucas, is called by Earl Strom.
Both teams will now be in the bonus on the next violation.
Gross wheels right to Davis. Collins on the steal. Lead to Mix. Gross can cut him off. Mix comes to the hoop and Gross is there. And he fouled him, said Bannock. That is 3 fouls on Bobby Gross.
There's the play again. Good outlet pass by Doug Collins to Steve Mix. You can see he's not running at his best speed. He goes up with a shot. Gross goes up. Made a pretty good block, but he had a little contact down low. John Bannock on the play.
Herm Gilliam re-enters the game for Ramsey. Davis goes out. 4:42 left in the first half. Jimmy the Greek on Seattle Slew and George Allen's contract at halftime.
That's 12 for 12 from the foul line from the Sixers. It's number 13 possible coming up, and Portland's only 5 for 6.
A 4-point Mix lead, and we'll watch Mix and Lucas duel isolated. Control. There's that jump. Full turnaround that time, more than a hook shot by Bill. And again, Shue is up complaining about delay of game as the ball was rolled out of bounds.
You see Lucas on this last play. He's going to go off the split. Makes a good cut to the basket and was in good position for the offensive boards had the shot not go in.
So it's the Blazers by 2 as we head towards halftime. But most agree the Sixers were the more talented team. The problem was getting them to play together. They were known for their one-on-one playground style. The Sixers were at times undisciplined, but they were fun to watch. The team also liked to have fun off the court, as their traveling roadshow made stops in every city.
During that time, it was like you go to the game, you play. After the game, you go to the disco, you dance. You get back off the road, you get home. You can't wait to get back on the road. So we just had too much fun, man. I think we actually had so much fun until we forgot we had to play some nights.
Philadelphia had the greatest show on earth in the slam dunk warm-up line. This was in the days when not that many people were dunking in the games. People would come and watch the warm-ups, and players would actually put on a show in the warm-ups.
And playing a starring role in that show was Darryl Dawkins. At 6'11", 270, Darryl was an imposing figure, but he was just a big kid at heart. And he loved spending time with much younger kids, often visiting churches and hospitals. Julius Erving called Darryl a big teddy bear. He endeared himself to the fans in Philly. And as we head back to the '77 finals, Darryl has just checked back in. So let's pick it up late in the third quarter.
30 fouls on Gilliam. The round of applause for the young, strong man, Darryl Dawkins. Lloyd Neal in, and Bill Walton goes out.
Right in the first half, Portland had 9 chances on the break to only 6 for the 76ers. The Sixers now have 12 opportunities. Portland only 10.
1:16 left in the third. 83-75, 8-point difference in the Spectrum. Game 2, Thursday night on CBS, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Now we'll see how Dawkins defends against Neal. There won't be any battling after a shot outside like that by Lucas. We're inside of a minute. 3 field goals separate. Dunleavy comes up on Gilliam. outside away from Lucas. Hollins came inside. Drew the foul as he roared into the basket. And it's on Lucas, his 5th foul. 5 fouls on Jack Ramsey, strong forward. He goes to the bench immediately.
Take a look at this last play. Collins takes the jumper, sees it, it's off. Comes right in and follows it up, goes to the basket. Lucas didn't look like he hit him. Of course, the angle here is a little bit tough, but he was upset about it and was complaining that he did not hit Doug Collins. Doug Collins made the play, Brent, by following his missed shot.
Collins at the line. Corky Calhoun has replaced Lucas. Calhoun did not play at all against the Los Angeles Lakers.
Perfect from the line. 18 for 18 now for the 76ers.
35 seconds. Third quarter. Calhoun wears number 10. Off to Gilliam, who's 3. Up past Steele. Neal, offensive rebound. Gilliam puts a move on Dunleavy. Steele, 2 offensive rebounds. Off Calhoun's hands. He was in a little too tight. Collins in a race. Dunleavy underneath. No basket. It's a foul on Dunleavy. He'll go to Portland with 11 seconds to go in the third.
That's the bonus situation right now. Portland will go to the foul line.
Gene Shue races up the sideline. How they love Darryl Dawkins here in Philadelphia. His fan club up all night, painting that banner.
Doug Collins and Julius Erving are leading the way for the Sixers here. We mentioned at the top of the show, Collins and Erving both with 12 points in the third quarter.
Calhoun and the Blazers get an opportunity with 5 seconds to move to within 5 points. Collins, offensive foul. That is 5 on Lyle Hollins.
And a technical foul as well. He made like he was going to throw the ball really hard at John Maddox. John elected to call a technical foul on him. We'll see the play right here. Steve Mix makes a good defensive play. Here comes Collins now driving over to the side. Mix jumps out at him. He sees that he's there, loses his balance, and goes into him. Now let's see if we can watch right there when he does that. Calls a technical foul. There's a lot worse things were happening out there, Brent, a lot of language being said, and I don't know why John picked on Collins at that particular time.
The last 2 seconds of the third quarter are about to unfold. Portland will pressure the basketball, try to smother an attempt at a long shot. They get Ramsey back. Lob pass to Neal, and the third quarter will come to an end. Before a packed house in the Philadelphia Spectrum, the 76ers and the Portland Trail Blazers head into the final quarter of Game 1 of the World Championship Series. 76ers lead at 86-78. They have possession. Joe Bryant, Mike Dunleavy, Darryl Dawkins, Doug Collins, and Steve Mix open against Johnny Davis, Lloyd Neal, Gilliam, Gross, and Walton. Walton jumps over there. Outlet now to Gilliam. Mix on him. Dawkins there. Gilliam retrieves. Davis slides inside.
Foul will be on Darryl Dawkins. And Johnny Davis will go to the line. Very interesting statistic about him as we watch the play here. We'll bring it up. Here's the pass to Davis. He makes the move to the hoop. Gets caught up in the air right there on the arm. Dawkins with the foul. Davis, in the last 5 games, has started and averaged 16 points, shooting 57% from the floor. He only has 2 points. That's his third point right there in this basketball game. And in those 5 games, Portland won all of them.
Filled in for the injured Dave Twardzik. Twardzik has been in briefly here in this game. Neal out of bounds. It'll go to Philadelphia. How important is winning the first game of the championship series? Well, in 30 previous seasons, the team winning the first game has won the NBA title 24 times. It is a critical game statistically. Dawkins, Collins. Gilliam picked off by Mix. Neal on the switch. Shot missed. 7-point 76er lead. Gilliam outside. Caldwell Jones will check back in.
Portland hanging tough right now. They've cut the lead back down to 5. A lot of time to go.
Irving will also check back in. Dawkins turns around on Walton. No outlet to Gilliam. Lady sticks. Walton with that touch.
Walton's going to have to shoot the ball a little bit more, Brent, to help get us back in the basketball game. Gene Shue, I think, wants a timeout.
He's got it. Walton now has scored 22 points. And, of course, 3 players have 5 fouls. Lucas, Collins, and McGinnis. The doctor will be back when you come back. He scored 26.
While the Sixers won that game, Portland went on to win the series in a huge upset. As for Darryl Dawkins, he spent 14 years in the NBA with 4 different teams. He also played a year with the Harlem Globetrotters and 5 seasons in Italy. By that point, Darryl said he was naming his layups instead of his dunks. But wherever he went, he was always a fan favorite. And when we come back, we'll look at some others who were real characters of the game. Darryl Dawkins would have made an impact in the NBA just with his thunderous dunks. But when you throw in all the nicknames and the zany personality, you have a player who was truly one of a kind. But the NBA has had a few others who, let's just say, marched to their own beat, and not all of them were on the court. There was longtime Boston Celtic announcer Johnny Most, whose distinctive, gravelly voice was immortalized with "Havlicek stole the ball." Yes, Johnny sure knew the Celtics. It was the other team that sometimes gave him problems.
The little guard, Obradovic. Out quickly to the big guy, and now to the lefty. And he lost the ball, but it's picked up in there. Now to the little fella. Oh, boy, I'm having trouble with the name.
Oh, my goodness. The Sixers' Dave Zinkoff brought his own unique style to the role of PA announcer, and Zink was probably best known for his introduction of Dr. J.
From the University of Massachusetts, number 6, captain of the Philadelphia 76ers, Julius the Doctor.
I always liked that one. Dave also had some clever calls, like when Gar Hurd of the Buffalo Braves scored a basket, Zinkoff would announce, "Herd of Buffalo." Now, back in the ABA, there was Marvin Bad News Barnes of the Spirits of St. Louis. He wore a fur coat over his warm-ups and once refused to board a plane heading for a different time zone, saying, "I'm not getting on any time machine." John Sally brought some levity to the tough, no-nonsense Pistons. Sally was the team's resident comedian, trying out his routines on anyone who would listen. They didn't call him Silly Sally for nothing.
You're out, man. You want to roll on the cameraman or what?
Now, John Sally did have some punchlines, but he never invented his own planet like Darryl Dawkins from Lovetron. And neither has anyone else. But the NBA does have some court jesters who carried on Darryl's legacy.
Charles Barkley reminded me of Darryl Dawkins, you know, because he was so fun-loving.
I'd say Kevin Garnett is similar to, the fun-loving, always happy, always wanting to play, and lighting up locker rooms and things like that. So I think you can compare the two.
Well, the player that I see that may have that kind of character, maybe Jerome Williams, Detroit. He looked like he's a fun-loving kind of guy.
Mr. O'Neal, I think, comes to mind right away. His flair with the media, his ability to crush a basketball through the hole on a dunk shot.
Just the way that Darryl Dawkins used to, jam the ball. I think Shaquille O'Neal is probably, closer to him, how
you know, dominant he is around the bucket, and when he gets the ball and he goes up to dunk, it's very hard to block it.
I guess when Shaq dunks, Shaq dunks is like Darryl Dawkins dunks, real hard, with authority.
Now, Shaq's also been known to invent a few nicknames, not for his dunks, certainly not for his free throws, but for himself, like the Big Aristotle. We'd like to hear what you have to say about Darryl Dawkins or anyone else like him. Just drop us an email at NBA.com on the Vintage NBA page. Feel free to nickname some dunks, and we'll be sure to pass them on to Darryl. We'll be right back. As we mentioned earlier, some of Darryl Dawkins' coaches thought he might not have taken the game seriously enough. So you might be surprised to hear what he's doing these days. Believe it or not, he's a coach. Darryl is guiding the Pennsylvania Valley Dogs in the USBL, and he says he'd like to coach in the NBA someday. Yep, the man from Planet Lovetron has come down to earth just a bit, but he is still one of basketball's biggest characters. Thanks for joining us this week on Vintage NBA. I'm Robin Roberts, and we look for you again next time. Take care.